Now, on Philadelphia's #1 college radio station, WHIP, Rational Radio.
In the city of brotherly love, you're listening to Rational Radio with Ryan Goodwin, Noah Clay, Izzy Eucness, and the legendary Ryan Frischella. How is everyone doing today? Everyone doing good?
Great.
In lieu of this precursor to Hurricane Joaquin weather we got going on?
Joaquin?
Very, very wet Friday.
However you say it.
Joaquin,
whatever.
Joaquin.
Whatever. I don't know what.
Yeah,
what kind of
that's
name
interesting.
That is. Whatever.
It's a Spanish name. That's what kind of name it is.
But what a lineup we got going today, don't we?
Oh yeah, we have a great lineup on the show today. Talking a little bit about duck boat crash that happened in Seattle last week. We are talking about the unfortunate incident that happened yesterday in Oregon. And we are going to talk a little bit more about Kathleen Kane and all the troubles that she has going on in her life right now.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. We have a couple guests coming on the show today, so that'll make it fun and just, a good way to end the week. But yeah, man, does she have some trouble going on, but we will get to that later. But we are starting off here. We are going to start off with the duck boat crash. So basically it happened last week in Seattle, and it was a pretty big incident, considering that there were a number of people killed, and now there are reports coming out that the duck boat actually had a bad axle on it, and that it should not have been out on the road. And now we have another accident that happened with the duck boat. We have seen an accident before in Philadelphia with the duck boats. So what is going on?
You search duck boat accident on Google, it'll be a whole list of things. So this is not the first duck boat accident we've seen.
Honestly, I don't even know what the operators of this boat were thinking. Like, honestly, all right, let's get in a massive accident, and then let's just drive it into the water and, just let's keep rolling with it.
Yeah, no, the duck boat, when you look at it, it doesn't look like the most well put together structure in the first place. So when you think about the fact that it crashed and why would it be a good idea to put it in the water? Like, I don't know. I don't think it was well thought through.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I mean, these things, they're not tanks, that's for sure. I mean, I see them driving around here in Philadelphia, and I mean, yeah, they're really cool and stuff, but, one takes a broadside hit. I'm not looking to drive in that thing for a long time until it's fixed. A long time.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely going to need to have some work done to it before I feel comfortable. I don't even know if I would ever go and get in
definitely not
in a duck boat ever again. But to discuss this issue further, we are now joined by Robert Mongaluzzi, who is a lawyer here in Philadelphia. He is with the firm Saltz, Mongaluzzi, Barrett, and Bendesky, and he actually represented some of the victims of the duck boat crash here in Philadelphia when that happens. Robert, thank you for joining us here on Rational Radio.
Oh, thanks.
So first, I have to ask, were you surprised that there was another incident involving these duck boats?
No, I wasn't surprised. I had called on a ban of duck boats. They are dangerous both on the land and on the water. They were invented to invade other countries from the water at war. They are not safe for passengers. They are not safe for pedestrians. And they are not safe for people in other vehicles, which we tragically learned in abundance last week.
So what were some of the things that you discovered about this company as part of the lawsuit in regards to the incident that happened in Philadelphia?
Well, we represented, and we're getting an echo here, and I don't know whether it's on your line as well. But Ryan?
Yeah, go ahead. Keep going.
Sure. We represented not only the two victims in 2010 that drowned when the duck boat submerged and they were trapped, but we also represent Liz Kornicki, who was run over as a pedestrian and killed this May. So we have handled cases both on the water and on land against the duck boats. And so I could talk to you a little bit about their dangers both on the water and on the land.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Hey, Robert, you're on with Ryan here. Just quick question. Why are these vehicles so dangerous? Like, what about them causes that threat to pedestrians and the people on it, as well as other drivers?
Sure. I'll start on the land. First of all, they are built on 1940s chassis, so they are grandfathered in and do not have to meet federal motor vehicle safety standards. So they are not crash tested. They don't have adequate protection. They are cumbersome to drive. They have, since you have a 10-foot bow in front of the operator, you have a massive blind spot. The operator who ran over and killed Liz Carnicki admitted that he never saw her, even though she was in the crosswalk. So that's devastating in a crowded city. When it comes to them crashing into another vehicle, they have a bow in front which acts like a spear. And that's what happened in Seattle. It pierced the side of the tour bus, killing the people inside.
Just another question, Robert. Are there any particular licenses that the operators of these duck boats need to have to be able to properly operate them, or is it just another run-of-the-mill common driver's license?
No, well, they would need a driver's license, but they also need a mariner's license or a captain's license to operate them on the water. They would need a CDL to be able to operate them on land. So they do have some higher level of specialization, but they are dangerous by design, and they're difficult to operate.
As a result of the after the incident in Philadelphia and then the ensuing lawsuit, was there any agreement on their part that they would look into further safety measures or look to make their product better?
No. Well, the entire duck boat industry has refused to respond to any calls for changes. The first major duck boat accident was in 1999. It was in Arkansas. 13 people drowned, and after a year-long or 2-year-long investigation, the National Transportation Safety Board determined that the people inside who had life preservers got pulled up into the overhead canopy and trapped and couldn't get out and drowned. They called for a ban on canopies on duck boats, but they don't have the force of law, and the duck boat industry ignored them. Regarding the death of Liz Carnicki and the blind spots that they haven't changed anything on that as well. If you look at the statistics, and I just want to put this in context.
All right, go ahead.
There have been now 6 people killed by duck boats on the land in the last 4.5 months. There are only 100 duck boats in the United States.
Wow.
If you extrapolated that out to vehicles, that would be like going from 33,000 fatalities a year, which is what we have in the United States with vehicles, to 3.3 million deaths. They are 1,000 times more dangerous than cars.
Astronomical.
And that does not include the 15 people who have been drowned in 16 years in the 100 duck boats.
That's insane. Just unfathomable. Those numbers.
Yeah,
of
those
that
numbers
proportion.
are just. We're on the air with Robert Mongalusi here on WHIP, and just another question I have. As far as safety on these boats, when passengers get on, do they have seatbelts or life preservers underneath the seats that would, in case of an emergency, would help them, or anything along those lines?
They don't have seatbelts. There are life preservers that are above the seats. However, in the 2010 catastrophe, even though the duck boat broke down, the captain did not require or tell people to put their life preservers on until about 30 seconds before they were hit and submerged by the barge, and virtually no one had a time to get them on.
Wow,
and of course, if you put your life preserver on and the duck boat sinks and you haven't gotten out the window, then your life preserver pulls you up into the overhead canopy trapping and drowning you. So in a duck
Wow.
boat, if it's going down, if you're inside, you're dead if you do, you're dead if you don't, you drown if you do, you drown if you don't. They're dangerous, and they should be banned.
They just sound like a metal
Yeah.
death trap to me.
Yeah. So, I mean, ultimately, should the operation be shut down altogether?
They should. And think about the other issue that really hasn't surfaced yet. A duck boat has its bow well off the ground above its tires, so when it strikes another vehicle broadside, it is above the level where we have our doors with side airbags, and so it literally just crashes through the window and can kill you that way. So they are dangerous in so many different ways, to pedestrians, to people in other vehicles, to people inside of it. They're dangerous on the water, and people shouldn't go on them. I mean, you're putting your life in your hands.
Yeah, that's insane. That's just crazy. Can't believe that another incident with these duck boats happened again after what so tragically took place in Philadelphia. Robert, we appreciate your time here on Rational Radio. Thanks for talking
Thank you very
with
much,
us.
Robert.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow. Well, that was definitely some expertise that I was not really prepared for. I mean, after hearing what Robert Mongalusi said, I would precaution to any listener out there, stay away from these things.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're basically grandfathered into federal motor vehicle safety standards. So I mean, they're old, they're outdated. Something needs to be done.
Yeah, it's scary. I grew up in New Hampshire, and we would go down to Boston, ride on the duck boats all the time when I was a kid, and it's terrifying to hear that they're not quite as safe as we all thought they were.
If you think about it, though, school buses don't have seatbelts either.
That's also
So
true.
That's
That's true, but school buses don't have those big points on the front. Like
they don't.
That's
They-
Acting like a spear that just goes
that's-
right into
that's
the
so
object.
Scary to think of.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember the Philadelphia incident when it happened. It was it was crazy because it was basically run over by a barge, and so you're thinking about how long of a barge is
and how much weight it has behind it.
right, and then you're thinking, you look at if you're the driver of the barge sitting all the way at the back of the barge, you have all that space in front of you that you can't see. The duck boat, I don't know, I can't remember if they were in radio contact with the barge or not, but literally the barge just went right over it.
Yeah,
and
I think they got in contact way too late, and the barge, I mean, for its size, they don't have the quick maneuverability as a small duck boat, and those duck boats aren't that fast. So I mean, that's just a recipe for disaster. Something that big that can't move, and then something slow that's even tiny. I mean, it's just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, it's definitely not the ideal situation. But what I thought was interesting that Robert mentioned was that how the life vests actually inhibit someone's ability to get out of the boat.
It makes it more unsafe for you to put it on. Technically, is what Robert was saying.
Yeah,
and it just it honestly sounds like it wraps you in a cocoon of death. Is what to me is what it sounds like. You crash and you're in that environment. Doesn't sound like a good shot for you.
So basically, we should all ride duck boats, is what we're saying. We should all ride one immediately.
That's terrifying. That's so scary.
I know, yeah, because I remember coming down to the city to hang out and with my family, and the first time I went on a duck boat, I thought it was the coolest thing. How can something go on land and in water?
Yeah, it's just too good to be true.
Yeah, and
it can't do both safely.
No, it can't do
At
both
all.
safely, which is
They can't do either.
that's
safely.
yeah, which is very concerning. Also, that they've made no attempt to make them safer. You'd think one major accident, they would take some sort of action.
Yeah, like even my thing is, you chop the top off of these things or something. Like, only limit the use of these things on nice days when it's not raining. And then in that case, if something that bad happens where they gotta abort or hop out, at least there's not something on top of them that's trapping them.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely in need of evaluation. Hopefully, they will do that after this incident, because we don't need another duck boat tragedy.
We don't need any more tragedies.
No. Yeah,
Please.
we're done. Yeah, we don't need any more tragedies.
Yeah, we got enough things
indeed.
to worry about, and duck boat tragedies are definitely not at the top of the list of things that need to happen.
But just insane that it happened again. Like, I
yeah.
remember when I saw, like, this just, like, wrapped up in Philadelphia, a little while ago. And now it's like, here we go again. It's the same thing.
It's like it's a cycle, man. You know, things happen and they die out, and then boom, right back again. It's in the headlines.
Yeah, why? Let's
get a handle on it and let's
take his advice. Let's get rid of these duck boats.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to take a quick break here in the studio, but make sure you keep it tuned to WHIP Radio, the #1 college news station in the city of brotherly love.
WHIP Philadelphia. Online at whipradiotu.com and on your mobile device with iHeartRadio.
My name is Tom Thornton.
And my name is Cindy Thornton. We've been married 38 years. We're retired, and this is how we live united.
We play golf and we travel, but we also decided we were going to give to and volunteer with United Way at our community free health clinic.
I do the nursing at the clinic.
I work the front office, checking in patients, greeting them, making them feel comfortable.
United Way is how we contribute because we know our time and money are going to the right places, the places that need it most and implement it best.
Judging by the thank yous we get at the clinic, I'd say we're doing the right thing with our retirement too.
We even get a few bless yous. It's incredible.
We're Tom and Cindy Thornton. We volunteer at our community free health clinic, so we don't just wear the shirt.
We live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
There's hundreds of fun and simple things you and your family can do to live a healthier lifestyle. Here's 20 of them. Walk to work, walk the dog, have the dog walk you, take a hike, take a bike, skate, dance, hop, jump, do the Humpty Hump, skip seconds, skip dessert, skip to my loo, don't skip breakfast, drink H2O, lower your sodium, raise the roof, shake your booty, stock up on vegetables, and don't forget to eat them. Search We Can online to find more ways you and your family can get healthy together. A message from the Ad Council, HHS, and NIH's We Can program.
I started going cold turkey. Well, at least when I'm in the car.
I know I shouldn't do it, but it's so hard to stop. That's why I hide it from myself, so I won't be tempted.
I used to do it all the time. I stopped by locking it in my glove compartment.
My friend used to do it way too much. Now I turn it off when we're in the car.
My solution is simple. I just don't do it.
There are lots of ways to stop yourself and others from texting and driving. How will you stop? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
WHIP Radio, iHeartRadio listeners. You're back on Rational Radio, and we just had an interesting topic about duck boats, but now we're going to transition to our next topic. Pretty big headline. Unless you're living under a rock, I'm not sure if you didn't hear about this. Massive shooting at an Oregon community college yesterday. More than 10 found dead, and just a complete tragedy. And especially if you were here listening on Wednesday, me and Ryan Frischello were talking about gun safety and the use of the implementation of armed guards on campuses of schools and elementary schools around the country would help create a bigger sense of safety. So this coming right after our conversation about that on Wednesday, it's definitely interesting to, I feel, bring up again and also discuss this whole shooting tragedy itself.
Yeah, definitely something interesting to discuss. Something very sad that it happened again. But I mean, it also now brings up the debate again about people getting their hands on guns, and should we make it harder for them to get their hands on guns, or do we need to look at other options that could prevent the same thing without new legislation, and kind of what the route is from here.
Exactly, and a lot of the time when these come up, when these awful situations come up, people think about it as a pro-gun, anti-gun war, and it's not. It's I think we can all agree that everyone is against gun violence, regardless of your stance on gun control. I think everyone's anti-gun violence.
Yeah, that's definitely true because, at this point, I brought this up on Wednesday. We need to we got to stop blaming the gun. We have to blame the person behind the gun. Yes, guns themselves.
That's what our caller said.
Yes, that's exactly what our caller said on Wednesday. And it's true because, yes, the gun itself, the projectile that's fired from it is the one that's killed it, but that gun wouldn't fire if someone didn't pull that trigger. So we need to start blaming the people who are behind the gun. And I don't know if any of you are out on social media like we young folk are, but a big thing that's going around right now is we want to remember the hero and not the shooter. And there's all over social media, one of the heroes of yesterday who tried to help stop the shooter goes by the name of Chris Mintz. He's 30 years old, and he's a fellow Army veteran. So thanks to him, he was helped to subdue and bring the end to this violence. He was shot 5 times in stopping in trying to stop the shooter. And he was quoted, his cousin, who was interviewed after the whole incident happened, was quoted as saying that Chris was not going to stand around and let something this horrible happen. So big shout out to Army and the Army veterans who were out there trying to make a difference and trying to put an end to this horrific tragedies such as this. And Chris also did this put his life in danger on the day of his own son's birthday. So, it's selfless acts like this that need to be remembered. Sick people like the shooter who went into this community college and just decided to start blazing trails and just mowing down people, he does not deserve to be remembered. But the people who lost their lives and the people who risked their own lives to put an end to it are the ones that need to be remembered.
I think the situation definitely needs to be remembered, though. We need to... Well, you said that we need to blame the shooter and not the gun, and I think it's very easy for us to blame someone after it happened, but we need to focus on gun control as well so that these people aren't able to get the guns in order for us to blame them for the tragedy.
Yeah, so I was looking yesterday, and I came across this article from back in August on the Wall Street Journal where it talked about John Cornyn, who's the majority whip in the Senate, John Cornyn, a senator from Texas, saying that he was trying to introduce some legislation that would help avert gun violence by ensuring would-be offenders receive treatment and by giving the authorities the requisite information to enforce existing law than rather creating new laws on the sale of firearms. This according to an article on the Wall Street Journal back from August. And I think it's a really interesting take on it. He wants to basically have this article, have this legislation share mental health data with gun dealers and a national database for it, basically. So when they run a check and they see if something pops up where there may be some form of mental illness with this person who's trying to buy a gun, that they actually can't buy a gun.
It's a hard situation that we've got ourselves in because we're at the point where sad stuff like this is happening like once a month. Like this is not a random occurrence. Like this is going on very frequently, and it's awful. And it's hard because you can't pick someone out in the street and say this person is going to be a weapons offender. Like this person is going to shoot up a school. I don't know, because it's just a rough situation to be in.
As far as mental health records, though, where do we draw the line? Like, when does it get too private to share with, like when?
Well, when you're buying a gun, there should be no privacy. If you want to buy a deadly weapon, I don't think there needs to be privacy. You need to display anything because any little bit of information that a gun regulator or gun seller could find that might seem like you might go fly off the handle at one point, he needs to know that because you're going to have a deadly weapon. So if I don't think there is a line because everything needs to be. If you want to buy something like that, you've lost your right to privacy almost. At least that's how I feel.
I feel similarly to that. If you are attempting to buy a weapon or an item that could end someone else's life, I think that steps need to be taken to make sure that you are in the right frame of mind when you're actually making that purchase. So I think this bill is a good idea, because I think there needs to be more collaboration of these things between the places where these people are being evaluated and then the gun dealerships where people are buying them, and then the discussion becomes, well, what if they go to a gun show, because they can get around the background checks if you buy guns at gun shows, and so then that's a whole nother issue then you have to tackle.
Yeah, and like it's at the point where like you can buy guns at Walmart, you can buy guns with your groceries. Like it's crazy what's going on.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I mean, and you walk around certain parts of the country, and I mean, just open carry is part of that culture. I mean, you walk into Walmart or you walk into the grocery store, and people are, just displaying their weapon there. Doesn't mean that they're going to use it there. It just means that, they have the right to have it. So they're going to do with it. Just have it there. I mean, it's not. Then this takes us back to our discussion on Wednesday about respecting it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not there. Someone who walks into a grocery store in, say, Texas with a gun on their hip isn't there because he wants to kill everybody in the grocery store.
No, not at all. I mean, listen, this all comes back down to our Second Amendment right to bear arms, and people are going to fight back and forth with this for probably ever. But my view is guns are something that are always going to be around. Our military is going to be using them. And, when our founding fathers set up the Constitution, they thought that the right to bear arms was something that was a necessity for the citizens of the United States. It's a freedom that we all deserve. And I still believe in that. Yes, there are sick people out there who do not deserve that weapon. And that's why you're right, Ryan. We need to have this bill. I'm all for it, having these mental records and mental healthness records, and that will show up to show if you have the ability to buy one is definitely something that needs to be looked into, because right now the acts of a few are tainting the whole for everybody else. So these acts of the shooter in Oregon, the shooter in Sandy Hook, the shooter in Colorado who shot up the theater, those three instances are what's bringing up this topic right now. So as of right now, we know that there are 3 sick people in this country who are destroying the use of guns for millions of others across this country who are using them for sport, who are using them for good home security protection. So we need to address those people and not take away the ability for the people who are going to use them for the right reasons.
If you're thinking about the mental health aspect again, though, if someone who had, say, bipolar disorder, who could have the potential to be dangerous in a manic episode or a depressive episode, and they were denied a gun and they wanted to use it for their security at home, is that fair to them because they have a disorder, they can't have a gun for their own security?
Well, my personal feeling is that I think you would have to go deeper. If he has bipolar disorder, you need to look in, has he ever had episodes where he's flown off the cuff, or has he gone off the handle? And you need to go deeper. So that's why these health records and things like that need to be addressed, because if someone does have bipolar disorder, but they go to therapy, they take their medication, and they're stable and acting members of society, then yes, they completely deserve that right to own a gun for their own safety and protection. But if they have had 1, maybe 2 episodes of them, thoughts of suicide and other things like that, then definitely I think that they do not have the right to own a gun or any significant weapon that could cause mass massacre or anything like that.
Yeah, and I think that also something to take into consideration is that then now this means we have to go deeper into the mental health system with examinations and documentation and making sure that we don't misdiagnose people with certain certain disorders that they may not have, and then we medicate them for something that they don't have, and then we're creating an even bigger problem beyond like what they need. Like they're just looking for proper treatment and they're not getting it.
Exactly. There's a whole lot of issues with the way that we're diagnosing and treating mental illness. I'm sorry, because I don't know. You have no idea. You have no idea what's going on inside someone's head. You can look at someone and know if they have a broken leg. You can't look at someone and know if they have depression. So
something interesting I found actually is the sheriff in Douglas County, Oregon, John Hanlon. He was there when this happened, and actually 2 years ago he was one of hundreds of sheriffs around the country that stood against new gun control legislation. So I thought that was something to think about.
Yeah. I mean, I know in the county where I come from, in Chester County, that they a couple years ago they had a raffle that was, you could buy tickets and then you went to a country club, and one of the things they were raffling off was an AR-15 rifle, and it brought in tons of money for the sheriff's department, and it helped them fund their canine dog program. And there was a lot of outrage that the sheriff shouldn't be selling these weapons, but they assured that it would go to a law-abiding citizen who, after a comprehensive background check, they would get. I mean, if they failed the background check, then they didn't get it. But something else, I mean, just another thing to consider. I mean, it's not, the sheriff in Chester County, Carolyn Welsh, said that, it's their right to own a gun. It's their, I mean, who's
to say you cannot?
I can't say no. You can't have this.
Yes.
But then I mean, I agree that what I think we need to look at. I just think we need to look at the mental health system as a whole. Not just the whole thing.
Yeah, not just on gun control.
No, yeah, correct.
Yes.
Yeah, I just think it needs so much. I don't think it gets enough attention until these incidents happen.
Yeah, no.
Definitely, but I think also with denying people who are mentally ill these guns, and I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm saying for some people that definitely should happen, but it's gonna add to the stigma that there is for mentally ill people. People might think that they're crazier than they are because they have this capacity to misuse a weapon.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, but also I feel as though if someone were to have a psych evaluation and realize that they cannot buy a weapon, and he were to accept it and realize, okay, I have this disorder where I would not be able to have a weapon, I would have so much respect for that person who is not willing to go out then and preach and say, oh well, I have this condition and it's just unfair that I can't have this. Unfortunately, that's just the name of the game. I feel as though that if someone were to accept what they have and realize that there's some things in life that you just not going to be able to have, just like the ability of someone who's in a wheelchair, they'll never have the right to walk. Well, if you have bipolar and you've gone off the handle a couple times, unfortunately, you can't own a gun.
I mean, we deny guns to convicted felons.
Exactly. So
I mean, they can change too, but I mean, it's something that you know.
And it stinks that you didn't choose to have a mental disorder. That's most of the times these things are hereditary. But some things, that's just how it goes. Sometimes they go, sometimes they don't. So it's hard, but sometimes you're just gonna have to get past it and realize that there's some things in life that you're not gonna be able to enjoy or have the privilege of having because of said scenario or said condition that you have.
Yeah, and I think that applies to everybody. I mean, there's something in life for everybody that they will not be able to have. I mean, nothing. I mean,
I'm never going to be able to have a 300-foot yacht, but I mean, I would love to have one. But the thing is, the odds of me being a billionaire and be able to have that, they're not too good.
Right. I mean, they're still there a little bit, but not 100%.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's just something that really needs to be looked at deeper, and just needs to be taken into consideration at some point that the mental health system needs a revamp. I mean, I don't know what it is that what it will take to do that, because ultimately that costs lots of money and it takes a lot of coordination and stuff like that. But I think if someone is truly passionate about it, it will get done.
Yeah, I think what we're doing right here, Ryan, is a step towards revamping that, talking about it, letting it be known, raising an awareness. So I think small steps like we're doing right now. We talked about suicide a couple weeks ago up at Penn University, and how people are taking steps right now as a program to get new freshman students and all students to have a mental, physical health advisor that they can go to whenever they need to talk. So small steps like this, where you start to talk about things that sometimes you don't want to talk about because they're very sensitive subjects, like suicide and depression, because of how hard it is sometimes for those people to talk about. But if we come together as a community, as a nation, and we back these people and tell them that they have a place to go and talk to, I think that's going to be the start of this revamping. I feel as though we back in the mid 20th century, people didn't talk about their feelings. I mean, my dad grew up. He was born in 1968, and he said the first time he heard his father say "I love you" was when he was 35. So I mean, back then people didn't talk about their feelings. Yeah. Not that he didn't grow up in a loving family, very, very successful family, but back then people just didn't show things. My grandfather is very old-fashioned. Was in World War II. Grew up, was born 1927, still alive today, practicing physician. But it's ridiculous that now people just hide things, and now we gotta bring that into the limelight. Now we have to show that we are willing to help these people, and that's what's going to be the key to unlocking these people's emotions and just telling them, and then we can vamp up this mental health whole conundrum.
Yeah, and I think that's ultimately what it'll be, is just, I think, kind of cutting down that stigma first, just so that we can start talking about it. And then once we can have a conversation about it, then I think that will lead us into some solutions. So we're going to take a quick break, but stay tuned here on Rational Radio on WHIP, Philly's #1 college radio station. We have some interesting discussion and another guest coming up just ahead.
There's hundreds of fun and simple things you and your family can do to live a healthier lifestyle. Here's 20 of them. Walk to work, walk the dog, have the dog walk you, take a hike, take a bike, skate, dance, hop, jump, do the Humpty Hump, skip seconds, skip dessert, skip to my loo, don't skip breakfast, drink H2O, lower your sodium, raise the roof, shake your booty, stock up on vegetables, and don't forget to eat them. Search We Can online to find more ways you and your family can get healthy together. A message from the Ad Council, HHS, and NIH's We Can program.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college, which ends up making the future better for all of us. My name is Alicia, and I'm your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. Brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Philly's #1 college radio station, WHIP. You're listening to Rational Radio with Ryan, Izzy, and Noah. We're here talking about Kathleen Kane today.
That's right. Yeah, moving into that topic now. She was charged with another
count of perjury.
Yeah, that's right. So another third-degree felony to add to the already existing list of charges levied against her by the district attorney in Montgomery County. And now joining us on the phone is Angela Columbus, a reporter for the Philadelphia Inquirer. Angela, thanks for joining us here on Rational Radio.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So talk to us a little bit about what you've heard regarding this situation.
Well, it's a complicated one. I mean, basically what's happened is that Kathleen Kane was charged back in August with leaking secret grand jury information about an investigation that was handled by one of her predecessors and a person in the office, a top prosecutor in the office, with whom she was having a feud, of a public feud. And she has obviously pled not guilty. She said she is fighting the charges, but she got charged again yesterday with an additional count of perjury for essentially lying about the fact that she went before the grand jury that was investigating her office for the leak, and she told them at the time that she was a stay-at-home mom when this grand jury that she's accused from leaking from was operating, and that there's no way that she could be held accountable for information because she was never sworn to secrecy to keep that information secret. Well, what prosecutors ended up finding from Montgomery County is that she had signed an oath of secrecy that covered that grand jury, and not just that grand jury, but all of the grand juries that the Attorney General's office has run since 1980.
Yeah, so Angela, now with this third count, or this second count out of perjury, we know that Governor Tom Wolf and former Attorney General Ernie Preid have told her or advised her, it's probably best that she resign and step down from her position. Now with this second count coming up, do you think now it might be time for her to step down?
It doesn't matter what I think. It matters what she said, and what she said is that she's not going anywhere, that she's remaining in office. She's got another about a year and a half left in her term. The only chink in her armor was a couple of weeks ago, she told a reporter from the Associated Press that she doesn't think that she's going to be able to run for re-election next year. And that's because the state Supreme Court at least temporarily suspended her law license. And under the state constitution, you have to be a member of the bar in order to be the Attorney General.
Yeah, something that is very important for her job. What I find so interesting with this is her just resilience to fight, that she is not going down without a fight here.
No, it's stunning, really.
Yeah, this is going back to the press conference that she gave when these charges were initially announced, and she said she wanted to be a model for her kids, to show that when you were going through tough times to fight. I can't help but wonder if this is having an effect on the office as a whole. Her resilience to just say, you know what, I'm going to take a little bit of a break and just let this play out and then come back when it's done.
Yeah, it's a hard call for her, because I think what she has said is that if I resign, or if I take a leave of absence, or if I somehow disappear, it's kind of an admission that I'm guilty, and I'm not guilty. And that's kind of the line that she's taken from day one. Having said that, you mentioned the impact on the office. It's had a tremendous impact on the office. I think morale in there, and we wrote a story a couple of months ago about this, morale in there is really at an all-time low. People feel a great sense of mistrust towards her and the people who are close to her in that office. And, it's to the point where there's so much paranoia that people are putting tape over their doors when they leave at night to make sure that nobody's breaking into their offices, doing the same thing with their phones. It's really kind of a toxic work environment.
Yeah, I can't imagine how they're going through with that. And now her, I believe it was just yesterday, vowing that she is going to release more what she called misogynistic and pornographic emails that now include another Supreme Court justice, Justice Eakin, and that she's turning this into something that is so much more than I feel like it needs to be.
Right. Well, her critics say, listen, the porn has nothing to do with the case against her. And she says, no, that's not true. The porn has everything to do with the case against me, because the reason why I'm in the criminal bind that I'm in is because I have possession of all of these damaging, pornographic, misogynistic, racist emails, and they don't want me to expose it. I think the only kind of problem with that logic is, if that is the case, if you believe what she's saying, if you really wanted to keep her quiet, would you really be poking the bear, or would you be, nice to her and trying to accommodate her so that she doesn't release all of this really damaging information?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just, if she's ultimately found guilty on these charges, I mean, there could definitely be some serious prison time that's involved.
It could, yes, no doubt. I mean, the perjury charge is a felony charge. The other, now there are 2 perjury counts. The other ones are misdemeanors, but that doesn't mean that they don't carry significant time.
Yeah, and then now the Attorney General's race, some people starting to look towards 2016. Already some people who have declared that they're running to restore integrity to the office.
Yeah, using this as their ploy to get into office.
Right.
So I just think a whole interesting situation. What I see as kind of a brave action taken by DA Risa Furman of basically charging someone who's essentially above her. Right. And this kind of just fell in her lap, and she said, well, now I have to deal with this. This is my beast to kind of tackle.
Yeah, I'm sure, listen, I mean, a lot of this is kind of mind reading and reading of tea leaves, but I'm sure she was not, incredibly happy that this case landed in her lap just months before, she's running for judge. But, she looked at the case, she took her time, there was a lot of pressure on her to deliver, a verdict on the case or some sort of decision on the case, very quickly. And she didn't do that. She took her time, she methodically went through it. First Assistant Kevin Steele is handling the case, and he and his, investigators in Montgomery County District Attorney's Office really, tried to dot their I's and cross their T's to get it right.
All right, well, you're listening to Rational Radio with Ryan Frisella, Noah, Ryan, and Izzy. And we just want to say thank you, Angela, for coming on, and we hope that you come on and talk to us again about, anything that comes up in the news.
Yep, thanks for having us.
Yep, no problem.
Great discussion. So, yeah, I think such a fascinating topic right now in Pennsylvania. I mean, your top law enforcement officer now has another third-degree felony count pending against her.
Mm-hmm. And I completely understand the people who are, for the Attorney General race coming up in 2016, that they're definitely, I see their point that they want to restore integrity into the position.
Yeah, I mean, I think she, like I said before, I think she's making just mountains out of molehills here.
It's just kind of ironic because she was like, you can arrest me 2 times, you can arrest me 10 times. I'm sure this isn't the end of the game, but I won't stop until the truth comes out. But she's been lying this whole time.
The truth keeps coming out that you're lying, honey.
Well, there was a picture yesterday. She said she didn't sign the grand jury secrecy paper, and she's like, I never signed that. And then there was a picture that was sent out on Twitter that actually showed the document. She signed it, and then the seal from the notary that was affirming that yes, she in fact signed this paper. So I think just something very interesting to consider.
She's just full of,
and she showed up to court yesterday. She's wearing a flannel, jeans, and boots.
She's not having it.
No, she said, I'm going to court like this. This is how it's going to be.
I'm
if you want to bring me in, then fine, I'm going in like this. Jesus. And then there was a quote in that Inquirer article that said the judge, Catherine Rebar, said that she was like, it was nice to see you again. So that was me. I would have been extremely angry if she said that to me.
Oh yeah. That was a shot.
But yeah, how about we transition to our last and final topic for this Friday? So it's talking about another issue in Pennsylvania criminal justice news. Supreme Court will hear a death row inmate's claim that the Chief Justice of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court had a conflict of interest and should have stepped aside from the case. This according to an article from the Associated Press on Philly.com. And this is in reference to former Chief Justice Ron Castile, who retired once he reached the mandatory retirement age. And now this case is saying that that there was maybe a little he should have stepped aside and shouldn't have been involved in it. And now, especially with the death penalty being the huge topic that it is, that this is headed to the Supreme Court. So interesting to see that.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like you're right, Ryan. The main issue here is death penalty and its effects on death row inmates and should it be legal? And we could we could do a whole show about the death penalty, but we got 15 minutes left here, so let's see what we can do. But the victim, or the man who was on death row, was 18 years old and beat a man to death, a deacon, a priest in his parish, when he was 18, after a robbery, and beat him to death and then lit his corpse on fire. So right off the bat, you would think that this guy is just completely insane. You
have to get into why he did it, though.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
But then you hear of the motive that he had behind him and why he did it. This deacon had sexually molested him in early teenage years as a churchgoer, an altar boy, things of that nature. So I guess you could say that this was almost his revenge. Williams was 18 years old when this happened, back in 1987. And is now on death row, and now this whole topic came up of should he still be on death row and should he be in line for the death sentence?
Yeah, so former Chief Justice Ron Castile was the district attorney in Philadelphia, which is where Williams was tried, and he authorized the death sentence. Then he ultimately was elected to the Supreme Court and then oversaw this. And so I see, obviously, where the conflict of interest arose from. But I think it's interesting to note that the article says that, when Tom Wolf ran for governor, he said that he would put a moratorium on the death penalty, which he has done. And so now he's tasking the legislature with reviewing the death penalty and looking at its effects, of how we should administer it, if we should administer it at all. But the last execution in Pennsylvania was in 1999. So before this century.
It was a while ago, but it's weird because it's hard to know what to do with these people, because obviously prison is rough. Obviously they can't be on the street again. Obviously, we can't kill them, but we can kill them. So it's just such a, there's so many options and none of them seem quite right or quite fitting. So
yeah, I agree with you, Noah. Me personally, I am pro-life in the sense of abortion, but when it comes to death penalty, I do support it. So yes, there's quite a conflict there. And I get the people's views on the death penalty, how it's very expensive along those lines, and I agree with them. It is. That's why I think we need to explore ulterior motives. If like I said, I am for the death penalty, so I think we need to explore ulterior motives to actually do the killing of these inmates. This euthanasia, the killing of one person, costs thousands of dollars, thousands of taxpayers' dollars. Keeping them in jail for a life sentence costs them X amount of dollars just to feed them three meals a day, things like that. We're giving these people, these criminals, these almost psychopaths, a bed to sleep in. We're paying for their meals. We're giving them a warm place to live. Yet we have innocent people who work 3 jobs a day and are still below poverty line. My thing is, I think we need to turn to those people more and forget euthanasia. If you really want to kill someone, a bullet costs what? A couple cents. Take him out back, put one in his head. That's what I said.
That's what you're advocating for here? Vigilante justice?
No. I say that, bring back the firing squad.
Okay.
Not vigilante justice.
Okay.
That was a metaphor I was trying to go for there. I guess it didn't hit too well. But bring back the firing squad, prisoners, used to be able to choose who they wanted to have killed, fire department, police department, whatever it be. I say bring that back. It's costing taxpayers thousands of dollars to end one life, and And it's just that money, that tax-paying money should go to people who need it more, the ones who really deserve welfare, the ones who are putting out their best effort to make a living for their family.
So the interesting thing here is that all the money is going towards the appeals process. Right. And the appeals process is just going on because, I mean, then that's someone's right that you have to appeal. So they appeal, and they said, oh, I have ineffective counsel. So now I'm going to appeal again.
Of course you're going to appeal because your life is
right,
literally
yeah,
on the line.
yeah.
So, and so it's hard. It's very hard. It's a very difficult situation because there's so many laws that we've written for ourselves, and then we get caught up in the whole legal aspect of it. And of course, it doesn't surprise me one bit that they're going to try and appeal it all the way up to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard because like it's easy to say like if you kill people, we will kill you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like even though they're scummy and even though they did awful things, they're still people.
Yeah.
So
I mean that's what a lot of people say. I mean it's the whole an eye for an eye perspective.
Yeah, eye for an eye makes the whole world go blind. I knew someone was going to bring that up.
No, I'm not saying I support that rationale. Right, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying the argument is out there that that us killing them is essentially doing the same crime that they did.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a it's a valid point.
Oh, it's a valid
point. I mean, if they killed someone, then we killed them. I mean, it's the same thing that they did. So.
Not to mention, this is kind of off topic, but Castile had been, he doesn't brag, but he brings it up a lot that he was notorious for sending convicted murderers to death row. So it's almost just like he's throwing it in everyone's faces.
Yeah.
Like, look at me, I could send this many people to death
row.
I don't know.
Sounds like Lynn Abraham, former DA here in Philadelphia. They called her the Queen of Death. For the amount of times that she pursued the death penalty for defendants at a rate higher than many other cities across the nation. So great discussion today.
Great discussion today, guys.
Two great guests that joined us, so thanks to them.
Thanks to them if they're still listening to us.
Hopefully they are. Sharing it with all their friends.
Yes. So that's about all the time we have today. So all you listeners out there, make sure you're safe this weekend in case if in the area who are preparing for this hurricane.
Joe Quinn gets too intense.
Joe Quinn, however you say the name, what have you.
Yeah, we'll work on that after the show.
I'll work on my vocabulary after the show. But make sure everyone stays safe this weekend. And make sure you always keep it tuned right here Monday, Wednesday, Friday for Rational Radio on WHIP, the #1 college radio station in the city of brotherly love. Thank you, people.
Have a great weekend, everybody.